Good afternoon, all of you. So today's topic will be on typhoid fever. So it is one of the topics in the non-communicable disease, which is coming under gastrointestinal tract infections. Okay. So am I audible to everyone? Typhoid fever. So typhoid fever is mainly by. So I think many of you would have heard about typhoid fever. So typhoid fever is usually an endemic infection which is present more or less uh, throughout the year. So everyone we can use this term, we can hear this term using typhoid. So I'm having typhoid fever. So the other name for typhoid fever is called as enteric fever. Okay. So typhoid fever, the agent which is causing typhoid fever is Salmonella typhi, which is resulting in systemic infection, which is characterized by typical continuous fever for 3 to 4 weeks. So the patient is usually will present with 3 to 4 weeks of fever and considerable constitutional symptoms like headache, vomiting, diarrhea, etc. So enteric fever includes both typhoid as well as paratyphoid fevers. So typhoid fever is endemic in India. So endemic means every time in the throughout the year you can see one or two patients having typhoid fever in all the areas. So 1% of children up to 17 years of age suffer from typhoid fever every year, and so we can have more than 1.7 million cases and 429 deaths. So maximum cases are reported usually in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal and Odisha. So the agent, so Salmonella typhi is a major cause and it has three main antigens. So these are the antigens which is usually found in the laboratory investigation. So if the patient is positive for this OHLVA antigen, we say the patient is having typhoid fever. It survives intracellular in the tissues of various organs and is killed by heat, drying, and pasteurization. The onset of fever depends upon the dose and virulence of the organism. So, lesser the dose, maybe you have mild infection. Larger the dose and virulence of the organism, that is, the killing capacity of the bacteria, will cause the the severity of the infection will be depending upon the dose and the virulence of the organism. So, who are the reservoir of infection? Man is the only source of infection. So, you can get the infection only from man and not from any other source. So, we can call as cases as well as carriers. So, cases, mild cases may be mild, mist, or severe case. So, cases are infectious as long as the bacilli occurs in the stool and urine. So, if the cases are shedding the infection in the stool and urine, so they may act as a case and they can spread the infection as long as the shed is bacilli. Carriers may be temporary or chronic. So, carriers you all know. So, even after the disappearance of the clinical signs and symptoms and patients became alright, still they keep shedding the bacilli in the stool and urine. So, how we can classify the carriers? So carriers of typhoid can be classified as depending upon the total of exit and the incubatory period and all those things. So we can classify them as pre-clinical and incubatory carriers. So pre-clinical or before the appearance of signs and symptoms, patient keeps shedding the bacilli or during the incubation period. So we call them as pre-clinical or incubatory carriers. Next one is convalescent carriers, where it is towards the end of the progress of the disease. When the patient is becoming more or less alright, healthy, so that time we have this convalescent carriers where they keep shedding the bacilli, and contact are healthy carriers where they don't have any clinical signs or symptoms, but still they keep excreting the bacilli. And chronic carriers, they act as a source of infection throughout their life. So these are all the 4 types of carriers. So these carriers can be asked as a short note or as an essay question, so which is very important. And we'll move on to sources of infection. So sources of infection, and coming back to the carriers, so you all know what is preclinical. So before the onset of clinical signs and symptoms, we call them as preclinical. And during the incubation period, so that's why it's necessary for all the infections or all the communicable diseases to know the incubatory period. So the period of incubation should be known, so we can be alert during the incubation period. Source of infection. Infective material is the stool and urine of the cases, and carriers are the primary source. So when the patient is admitted in hospital or at home, and when the other fomites and other things are contaminated with the infective material, so that can be transmitted to the other person. And secondary source will be contaminated water, food, fingers and flies. So when it's used by the cases and it is contaminated with water, food or finger and flies through the urine or as well as by the fecal matter, so that will be acting as a secondary source of infection. And there is no evidence of secretion of bacilli in the milk or sputum. So we don't have any evidence. So if the mother is having typhoid, so it is not secreted in the milk. Host factors. So who are all the person who is affected by this agent? So age and sex, it's highest in the age group of 5 to 10 years. So most commonly 5 to 10 years, where the children tend to eat outside and buy all the food items which is selling outside and which is not hygienic. So it is very common in the school age group, so 5 to 10 years. And males are more affected when compared to females, as they tend to eat outside more when compared to the female children. So that's why it's very common. And immunity. So natural infection gives partial immunity. Secondary attack occurs depending upon the dosage. So cell-mediated immunity is responsible for the infection. So we have 2 antibodies which are produced, one is O and another one is H antigen, O antigen and H antigen. So what are the environmental factors which is causing for this infection? So poor environmental sanitation. So you all know where there is no proper drinking water, proper drainage facilities, and all those the poor environmental sanitation. So that is very common for the spread of infection. Contaminated water and food. So where the water and food are contaminated, water contaminated with the sewage or by the fecal matter, or for the flies which is resting on the fecal matter and coming and contaminating the food and water. Lack of personal hygiene, where you don't take bath and keep yourself hygiene. Cutting your nails, wearing chappals, so closing all the food items. So all these things, the lack of personal hygiene. And poor quality of life, lack of education. So what is the spread, so what is the mode of transmission, how it is spread, and what are the signs and symptoms. So lack of education. So typhoid fever is regarded as an index of general sanitation in a country. So whenever you want to know the marker, that is general sanitation of a country, so we can say if the typhoid is higher, and we can say that sanitation is poor in the country. If the sanitation is very good, then the chances of typhoid fever must be very less. So that is called as general index sanitation of a country, and this can be asked as an MCQ for you. So mode of transmission, so it is mainly through fecally contaminated water and food. So when the flies sit on the fecal matter and then they come and sit on the food particles and food items, so it gets contaminated. Contaminated food and drinks, and through direct contact through the hands, nails, and through the fomites. So direct contact. So these are the modes of transmission of typhoid fever. Incubation period is for few days, maybe 3 days, and it can even last up to 10 to 14 days. So let's say 3 days to even to 14 days is the incubation period. So how typhoid spreads? So contaminated food and water, especially the food and natural disasters, mainly where larger people are crowded and overcrowding is present and with poor sanitation. So that is the main reason where spread of typhoid fever occurs. Food outlets that practice poor hygiene, where they don't close the food and keep, and where you don't use proper covering and proper water, and the surrounding place is not clean and hygienic, and the patient who is handling the food also should be hygienic, maintain all the precautions. Eating seafood from water source contaminated by infected feces of urine. So that is also one of the source of spread of infection. Using a toilet contaminated bacteria, not washing your hands. So when you're using your toilets, your door handles, water taps and all those things, after using it you have to wash your hands with soap and water. So most of the infections spread through this toilet doors, handles, taps, all those things. So we should be always cautious when you use your public toilets and other things. So you have to use your wash your hand with soap and water or with sanitizer, so that you can prevent the spread of typhoid fever. So eating raw vegetables that have been fertilized with human waste. So you all know human waste can be used as a fertilizer, and it is also used as a fertilizer in many places. Where the vegetables are grown in those places and it is not cleaned or it is not washed properly, when eating raw food, vegetables and foods which is used raw and not washed, and when it is even used as salads. So these are all the source of spread of infection. So what are the clinical features? So onset is insidious, with chills and rigor with high fever. So patient will have high fever, sudden onset, and fever will be a stepladder pattern. So in this we can come to a conclusion whether it's typhoid fever or whether we can differentiate with the other fevers. So we have various types of fever pattern which is prevailing in other types of diseases. Like malaria, you have intermittent fever, where you have chills and rigor. But in case of this, we have this stepladder pattern where it is slowly, gradually rising up like the steps. So 7 to 10 days patient become toxic and exhausted. Constipation later with piece of diarrhea. So initially the patient might have constipation and later they can present with diarrhea. And if no complications, patient can improve within 7 to 10 days. So patient can have headache, fever, eye pain, and they can have rashes over the bodies, and muscle pain, joint pain, back pain. So these are all the signs and symptoms. Usually the patient present with may have typhoid fever. So in early stages, physical findings like splenomegaly, abdominal distension and pain, relative bradycardia, dichrotic pulse, rose spots in 2 weeks. So rashes may be present over the body, which is called as rose spots, which is also an MCQ. Okay. Now complications occurs in 30% of cases, responsible for 75% of deaths. So what are the lab diagnoses you do? So lab diagnosis, so you do this microbiological procedures where you can identify the agent, Salmonella typhi in the stool or the urine. And serological procedure, you do this Vidal test with the development of ONH antibodies. So you do this Vidal test to identify the presence of ONH antibodies. And we have other newer diagnostic tests like ideal Tubex test, Typhi.M test. So these are all the 3 types of other newer diagnostic tests where we can identify the presence of enteric fever. So control of typhoid fever, how you can control? So we have three modes of control of this fever. So one is control of reservoir, control of sanitation, immunization. So we'll see one by one. The control of reservoirs. Reservoir in the sense only the cases and the carriers and source of infection and not any other material, not many other source of infection. So for the cases, what we can do? So we can diagnose as early as possible. So when the patient is coming with a fever and headache and vomiting and all those things, so you can initially ask them to go for the lab investigation and find out the ONH antibodies so that you can diagnose easily and early as possible and give them proper treatment. And notification. So if you find many cases are in a particular area, coming from a particular area or a particular geographical area, so you can notify this to the health authority, nearby health authority, and to find out what is the cause and from where this infection is coming from. So find out the cause and notify the disease to the health authority. Isolation. Now you isolate those patients and hospitalize them in a proper ward, isolate them so that they are not contaminating with other patients and give them proper treatment. Disinfection. So disinfect all the soiled items and other things which they are handling so that it will not infect others, and proper follow-up. So these are the management of cases. And for the carriers, so you identify who are all the carriers. So you all know, you must be knowing the main carriers, which is example quoted in the microbiology book, typhoid Mary. So we should identify who are all the carriers. So patient is a cases, they can act as a carrier later on. So identify the carriers, give them proper treatment, and if surgical intervention is needed, go for the surgery. And surveillance and health education, so that if they are handling the food section or working in the food vendor houses or restaurants, so proper screening should be done now and then, and to see their hygienic conditions so that we can reduce the transmission of infection from one person to another. Control of sanitation. So protection and purification of drinking water. So always see to that your drinking water is protected and purified properly, and improvement of basic sanitation with proper sewage treatment, proper sanitary toilet facilities, and proper water facilities. Promotion of food hygiene. So food hygiene, the patients, the individuals who are involving in the restaurants, hotels, food handlers should be given health education, and they should be taught how they should handle the food items. Measures to interrupt transmission. So what are the other things you can do to interrupt the transmission, like sanitation and vaccine and other prophylactic measures. Immunization. Do not give 100% protection. So most of the immunization won't give 100% protection, but we recommend to people who are living in endemic areas where they are prone to have this typhoid fever, and household contacts with typhoid fever, at-risk groups like school children and hospital staff where they are exposed and where they are in risk. So those children can be given vaccine. Travelers to endemic areas where people tend to travel from one place to another place and attending yatras and melas, people going for other rituals and other functions. So those people can be given the vaccine. So what are the anti-typhoid vaccines we have? So parenteral killed vaccine, the single dose, IM or subcutaneous. We have oral vaccine. So live oral vaccine was TY21 vaccine. So which can be also MCQ. So live vaccine TY21 vaccine more than 6 years. So it's given 3 doses as one capsule on day 1 and day 3 and one on day 5. One hour before food with milk or water. So protection after 2 weeks and booster dose after 3 years. So this has to be done. Okay. So that will be the end of the class today of typhoid fever. So while coming for the next class, I want you to do this assignment. So do this typhoid fever, read and write and send it to us to our mail ID. Next class we will see about food poisoning and other things in the next class. or else you want me to do it now? Food poisoning. So food poisoning is an acute gastroenteritis caused by ingestion of food or drink contaminated with either living bacteria or toxins or inorganic chemical substances and poisons derived from plants and animals. So it is an acute gastroenteritis by ingestion of food or drink. So not only contaminated with bacteria and virus but also by the toxins or inorganic chemical substances which is present and the poison which derived from the plants and animals. So these are all things which is contributing to the food poisoning. So mainly occurs through ingestion of common food, attack of many persons at the same time. So we can find many people are coming from the same area with having eaten the same source of food. Similarity of signs and symptoms, and all the people can have a same similar signs and symptoms. The types of food poisoning we have non-bacterial and bacterial food poisoning. So under bacterial food poisoning we have Salmonella food poisoning, Staphylococcal, botulism, Clostridium perfringens and Bacillus cereus. So these are all the bacterial food poisoning agents. Salmonella, so mainly the source from farm animals and poultry. Incubation period is very less, it's 12 to 24 hours within one day. Mechanism is mainly by ingestion, multiply. So when the bacteria is ingested, they multiply in the intestine, cause enteritis and colitis. Onset is sudden, which is fever, nausea, vomiting, and profuse water diarrhea. And if the patient is not treated properly and not hydrated, then they can go for dehydration and may lose the patient. So case fatality rate is 1%. Staphylococcal, it's a Staphylococcal aureus. It is the source is from main skin and throat of many animals. Incubation period is very less even to the previous ones, 1 to 6 hours, and mainly because of the toxins which is present in the food item because of the bacteria. Botulism, so exotoxin of Clostridium botulism, type A, B, and E. So organism distributed in the soil. Gastrointestinal tract and mainly from the canned or preserved food which we take from outside. So the canned and preserved food have all these exotoxins. Clostridium perfringens mainly from the species of animals and humans. Ingestion of meat and poultry products which is contaminated. So incubation period is 6 to 24 hours. The mechanism of action is spores producing toxins. The clinical features will be diarrhea or abdominal cramps. Help prevent food poisoning. So wash your hands before and after preparing food. Cook meat, poultry, fish and eggs thoroughly. Wash fruits, vegetables well before eating. Investigation. Second, complete list of people involved in the history and the history. So do the lab investigation of the remains of the food items or the drink which is contaminated, and it can be done on it can be verified by doing animal experiments and environmental studies and data analysis. Prevention and control mainly through food and sanitation, at meat inspection, personal hygiene, food handlers, food handling techniques. So meat inspection should be done now and then in the slaughterhouses, and see about the personal hygiene of the people who are handling those poultry products, food handlers, and we should educate them by the food handling techniques and how they should preserve and all those things, sanitary improvements and health education. Okay, thank you. So I want all of you to go back, read and do this assignment and send it through a mail. Okay. Thank you.